Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, yo, I want to be a serial killer. But for Richard Beasley and the situations in his life, made it very easy for him to become what he became. Welcome back, all my crime-loving enthusiasts. Today we're talking about the tale of Richard Beasley. As always, I'd love to know what you think about the case in the comments. It started from an early age. He was abused by his dad physically. He was sexually abused by his neighbors. He grew up in Akron, Ohio. I mean, first of all, this place in itself used to be a booming community. Now, man, it's looking pretty run down. People that live there, they gotta try to figure out other ways of means, if you know what I'm saying. Straight out of high school, he tries to become a machinist, but he loses interest. Goes through a couple odd jobs here and there. Nothing really pans out, so he becomes a burglar. A couple months later, he's arrested for burglary. The judge throws the book at him, gives him 40 years, but he actually only serves 4, then he's released. After being released, he heads back to Ohio, and he met this girl, and they got married, and they had some kids, and he was a real good dad too. I mean, a real good dad. I mean, he was there for his daughter 110%. His wife kept begging him to leave the biker gang, but he did not want to. Everything was going good, so she didn't mind. The bills were paid, he was home at night, everything seemed okay. And then she found out he was selling illegal firearms and doing robberies, basically a con man again. How did she find this out, are you wondering? That's a great question. The cops raided her house looking for these firearms. They tore through everything. They flipped her bed, tore open her couch cushions. She was pissed. But they found them guns, and he got sentenced to 7 years. But during that 7 years in jail, he found God, and it seemed to be going good, because as soon as he got out, he immediately becomes pastor. Chaplain Rick, they called him. And he was legitimately helping people down on their luck. He helped with soup kitchens, volunteer work. I mean, he was doing this every day until he got hit by a dump truck. And I think this is where his whole world changed. Because he got hit by the dump truck, he broke his bones. And when that happened, he was prescribed Oxycontin. So basically, he got addicted to Oxycontin. But he didn't know it yet. This was just the beginning. So he's prescribed Oxycontin, trying to get over his injuries. He gets a huge lump settlement from being hit by this dump truck. What does he do with the money? All good stuff. Buys a huge house right in downtown Akron, Ohio. Helps the local neighbors around the house. Turns the house into a halfway house. Everyone's saying, yo, Chaplain Rich is such a great guy. He also befriends this 16-year-old named Brogan. Brogan is younger than him, so he kind of helps him out like a father figure. He helps him around the halfway house doing certain things. Life seemed to be going okay for a while, but the drug addiction was slowly taking over. Slowly but surely, he started scamming the court for money, letting people just coming out of jail stay there, calling it a halfway house. But slowly but surely, those same poor girls looking for help were turned into prostitutes. When the cops started taking notice, he knew he had to do something because he did not want to go to jail. So he came up with the perfect scheme. I'm just going to find someone that looks like me, unalive them, and assume their identity. How hard could it be? So he places an ad on Craigslist saying he had 600 acres of farmland, he needed a caretaker, basically start a new life. And boy, did he have some responses. He had over 100 replies. So he just went down the list, trying to pick out the ones that were on medication. You know, basic, I'm going to kill you and take all your stuff mentality. His first victim was Ralph Greger. Ralph shows up for the interview. They share a meal together. Ralph, Brogan, and Richard go walking in the wood together. Ralph shot in the head. Richard now becomes Ralph. 2 months later, when he's done selling all of Ralph's things and can no longer pay for drugs, he has to do this again. Post another ad, and here we go. The next victim, David Polly. David drove 10 hours to visit and meet Rich and start this new opportunity. But the same thing happened to him. He was taken for a meal, taken to the woods, unalived in the back of the head. Rich really doesn't waste any time. Within 2 weeks later, he already has his third victim, Scott Davis. But this time, this is where it gets crazy. After the meal and during their walk in the woods, as Scott is about to get shot in the back of the head, he hears a click and turns around and sees Rich standing there with the gun. The gun had misfired. Rich pulls off another shot, but only hitting Scott in the elbow. Scott runs for his life out of the woods straight to the police, gives them all the information. The cops start looking for Richard before he can kill again, but it was too late. He had already had his fourth victim on its way, Tim Kern. Tim shows up. Same unfortunate outcome. He was unalived in the back of the head. But with Scott's info, they tracked the Craigslist ad to an IP address, which was tracked to Richard's room. When they went to arrest Richard, he was not there. But who did they find? Logan. And under questioning, Logan cracked. Told them everything. Hell yeah, I helped Richard murder and bury those bodies. It was almost like he was bragging. So they tracked the cell phone and found Richard and arrested him immediately. Brogan and Richard both got charged with murder. The cops were going to give Brogan a lesser sentence of only 20 years if he would testify against Richard. But he did not take that offer. So they gave Brogan life in prison without the possibility of parole. Richard was sentenced to death, as every serial killer should be. You should definitely burn in hell for the people that you killed, Richard. But I have to think to myself, how different life might have been for you if not been hit by that truck. Tell me what you think in the comments.